Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about marriage, and then hopefully, I'll go in and talk about the government and how that ties into the way we see ourselves as well. How we see the government, also reflects on how we see ourselves in atoms. But I'm not before I talk about the government. I'm going to talk about marriage real quick, and how you know how marriage, the marriage in the Bible and the marriage that we have right now are two separate things. You know, the marriage in the Bible is a union between, a man and a woman. It's supposed to be a free experience. It's supposed to be something you do willingly, as in there's no force. You're not being forced again into marriage. No one is forcing you. There's no expectations. God is not forcing you to get into marriage. You marry someone because you love the person, because you want to spend, the rest of your life with that person, right? That's the only reason you should be getting married. But in our lives, marriage has, in the human race as a whole, marriage means nothing else but a contract, a business contract. And, in many countries, marriages are written as, business contracts. They're just a different form of business contract. And even the word marriage, it's mare-age. If you're someone who studies symbolisms, and you're someone who's listened to my podcast before, or the episodes that I've talked about horse, you know that, the word horse or mare is not a positive word. It's a negative word. There's no positivity in the word horse or mare. Symbolically, the word horse, anytime the word horse or mare shows up, it's always something negative. For example, nightmare, right? It doesn't have to be spelled mare. As long as it sounds like mare, it is always related. It is always something detrimental. And mare-age, right? That's what you call marriage. Mare-age already tells you something. It tells you that, this is a detrimental thing. Why? Let me talk about the symbolisms of marriage for you, right? If you don't believe, that the word marriage symbolizes a horse, do you know what a bridle is? The bridle is the part, is a part of a horse that, the bridle is used to control a horse. A bridle is used to control a horse, right? So you have the bride and the groom. When you get married, you have the bride and the groom, right? Guess what? The bride is short for bridle. And the groom, what does a groom do? A groom grooms a horse. It's part of animal husbandry. A groom grooms a horse, and the bridle is used to control a horse. There are too many symbolisms related to horse in marriage. The bridle, the groom, and what? The very name itself, marriage. Mare-age. Mare is a horse. It's another name for a horse. So, this tells you something. In the Bible, it doesn't state that, when a man and woman come together and, form a partnership called marriage, that what? That they have to get a government certificate. You don't have to get a government certificate to be married in the Bible. Marriage is just a union between a man and a woman. That's all it is. But currently, it's the equal and opposite. Currently, a marriage is just that. It's exactly what the name states. Mare-age. Nightmare. It's a night marriage. This is why most marriages end in divorce. Most marriages end in divorce because it's a nightmare for the people that live, that experience it. Because most people do not get married because they love the other person. They get married because it's an obligation. Almost everyone I know only get married because they feel like the moment you turn 18, the moment you come of age, you must get married. It's no longer a union, but a partnership, a business partnership, a contract. Most people get married just so that, they can tick a button that says, yes, I'm a married man or I'm a married woman, and then they start cheating on their partners. They don't get married because they like the person. If they like the person, they won't cheat on them. It's that easy. If they truly like the person, they won't be cheating. And this is just how life works in general. The Bible states that it's easier to sin than it is to be a good person. It's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. And it's the truth, you know. It's the truth. It's easier to get into a bad relationship than it is to take your time and look for a good, healthy person that you love and get into a relationship with that person. It's easier to just settle for anyone. That way, you can meet society's expectations. Society wants you to get married. The government wants you to get married by the age of 18. The longer you wait, the more you get mocked and insulted by everyone around you. Because you don't want to be mocked and insulted by everyone around you. You force yourself into a mare-age. You force yourself into a marriage, right? And now you're stuck. Now you have to pretend you like the person you never liked. You only get married because, hey, I've seen it many times. I've seen it from the point of view of man, from the point of view of woman, where, it's not about love anymore. It's just about ticking certain buttons. Oh, he's rich, he's this, he's tall, he has blue eyes, he has blonde eyes, or he can take care of our kids, his X, his Y. The word love no longer matters. It's like a business partnerships with, with pros and cons. Men and women see each other as, like a business partner. They weigh the pros and cons of being in a relationship with you, as if you're like a tool, a toy. And then if you met the right pros and cons, they say, okay, yes, this is the person I get married to. The word love doesn't even matter anymore. It's more like a business partnership. What do you think will happen to you when you get into a relationship with someone? Not because you actually care about the person in any way, shape, or form, but because you're being forced to get into marriage. So you might as well settle for, someone who's at least ticked a few buttons. A few checks on your business checklist. As long as that person meets a few expectations on your business checklist, you get married to them. This is how life works. Because you're expected to get married, you're forced to get married. People no longer care about marriage. It no longer has any value. And this is why, most marriages fail, is because it's too easy to pretend you like someone. It's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. It's easier to lie than it is to tell the truth. It's easier to pretend you like someone than to actually like them. Far, far too easy. It's easier to smile than it is to be happy. You can smile right now. Even in the most depressing moment of your life, you can still bring up a smile. But just because you smile does not mean you're happy. It's easier to trick people than it is to be a genuine, honest person. It's easier to just trick them than it is to just tell them the truth. It's easier to get into a failed relationship than it is to get into a real, healthy, normal relationship. And it's very hard. Sorry, there's a bug. You hear me? But yeah, it's very hard to actually, take your time to look for the right person to get into a relationship with, right? When you feel forced by society, by your parents, by everyone around you to get into a relationship right now. Get married, have kids, get married, have kids. And then, because you feel forced to get into a relationship, you start choosing anyone you see. You don't even like that person. You just pick them. Why? Because it's easier to pretend you like someone than it is to actually like them. And because it's easier to pretend you like someone, guess what? Once you get into a relationship, your life starts to become hell. Because at some point in time, you realize that you can't pretend forever. Sooner or later, you have to show them your true colors. Sooner or later, your true personality starts to come out. All the hatred in your heart for pretending to like someone will slowly start to come out. And then what? The whole relationship just falls apart. This is just how life works. It's easier to go to hell. It's easier to enter a nightmare or a night marriage than it is to go to heaven. It's easier to put yourself in hell than it is to, take yourself to heaven. It's easier to pretend you like someone than it is to actually like them. It's easy to get into a bad relationship. It's hard to find a good relationship. It's very easy. A bad relationship is the one where you have to pretend you like someone. When you don't really like them, but you have to pretend you like them, then it's a bad relationship. No matter how many years a relationship lasts, it's still a bad relationship. Some people can pretend they like you for the rest of their lives. It doesn't mean they like you. It's easy to say I love you. It's hard to actually love someone. It's easy to say I care about you, but it's very hard to actually care about someone. It's easier to sin than it is to be a good person. It's easy to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. It's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. And this is the problem with the world, is that, many people blame the government for it. Yes, the government wants you to get married, but the truth is, this brings me to my next topic. Then my next topic is talking about the government. The truth is, do not blame the government for your problems. It's not the government's. Yes, the government's trying to force. There's some places where people rarely ever get married, and the government's trying to create endless incentives for you to get married. But the truth is, that's still the problem. The problem is, if you trick people into getting married with incentives, you've already devalued the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage isn't supposed to be a business contract just so that they'll have kids. This is how you create what? Failed relationships where, the parents hate each other. Now the kids, grow up in families, in broken down families, because even though they're still married, right? Not all marriages, end in divorce, but the ones that don't end in divorce aren't happy either. They aren't happy either. Some people can pretend to love you for the rest of their lives. It doesn't mean they love you. Many marriages, have already broken down a long time ago, but the people still in the relationship don't want to go to the government to get a divorce. It's just too much hassle. So they either still live with each other, or they've already moved on to different houses. Yet they're still married from the government's point of view. They're still considered married from the government's point of view, but the truth is, nobody there likes each other anymore. They never did. It takes time, It takes time to find out whether you actually, whether someone is pretending or not. So you keep thinking the person likes you. It takes time for the person's true colors to start showing. Because it's easy to sin in this world. It's hard to be a good person. Meaning most people are pretending to like the person they're in a relationship with right now, because it's easier to pretend than it is to actually like that person. As long as the person, makes enough money, or as long as the person, is checks fits a few of their criterias. That's all, that's all it requires for them to get into a relationship. They don't treat relationships as a love, as something you do, when you love someone. They treat it as a business partnership. Because they have to get into a relationship, the love aspect disappears. Because they feel like they have to get into a relationship. It's no longer, about love anymore. It's more about what? A business contract. And most people will tell you, there are many parents, traditional family members, traditional families, who will never see relationships as something you do, out of love. There are too many cultures that treat relationship as nothing more than a business contract. Your parents want kids. They don't give a crap whether you love the person or not. You have to marry that person and give them kids from that person's house, from that person's, genes. They want that person because, they've already, that person has already checked a few of their, their criterias. That person is either from a well-to-do family, or the person, they have better character, or whatever. There's many different reasons why someone likes someone. You know, families like some, choose spouses. They can either choose them because, they think they have, great moral character, they have a great status, or they have money. These are the different criteria, or all of the above. It's never about love. And no one cares whether, you actually like the person or not. There are too many cultures that have that mindset that relationships aren't about love. It doesn't matter. Love means nothing. Get married, have kids. We want children, and that's that. That's the mindset of parents. Many parents have that mindset. We just want kids. What are you going to do about it? Give us children. You know, give us children from this person. We like this person. This person, this person meets our criteria. So whether you love them or not, you have to pretend you love them for the rest of your life. We'll force you to love them. We'll force you to love that person. That's the mindset of many parents. And not all cultures have that mindset. Some parents, let you choose. But even if they let you choose, the culture itself already have that mindset of, hey, you have to find a relationship immediately and start having kids. You can't be that person that, always by themselves. You can't be that person that's always looking for, the perfect person. You just can't. You must find the person right now and get into a relationship with them. Get married as soon as possible. That's the mindset of the world. That somehow getting into a marriage will automatically make your life better. If you pretend to like someone, if you're forced to do something, it's very hard to do it well. When you're forced to do something or tricked into doing something with rewards, the government will give you money to get married. If you trick someone to get into marriage with money, guess what? When they enter, once they enter that relationship, that's when it all falls apart. That's when it turns into, from a marriage into a nightmare. And then they have to struggle. Every single day becomes a struggle because they don't really like the person. They only pretended to like the person for the first year or two that they were in a relationship with that person. The truth is, no love is there. This is why they're always cheating. They're always cheating because they're not with the person they care about. There was a statistics in the past where, that show that most people in relationships are not with their true love. I'm not making this up. You can Google it. Most people in relationships are not with their true love. They're not with anyone they love. Not even a little bit. They're only pretending to. They're only pretending to. And the only reason they're pretending to is because they feel obligated. They feel obligated to be in a relationship. Everyone wants them to be in a relationship as soon as possible. So what? They have no choice but to just pick someone who meets at least one criteria. They treat relationships like a business partnership. Someone has to meet one criteria, and that's it. Now I love that person. It's easy to say I love you. It's hard to actually love the person. It's easy to pretend to be a rich person. It's hard, very hard to actually be a rich person. It's easy to pretend to be a kind person. It's very, very hard to be a kind person. It's easy to pretend you love someone. It's very, very hard to actually love someone. It's easy to go to hell. It's very, very hard to go to heaven. It's very, very easy to sin. It's very, very hard to be a righteous person, a good person. And this is the problem we have to deal with in life, is that if you do what everyone else does, you go to hell just like everybody else. Since it's easy to go to hell, everybody will always choose the easy path. They will always choose to get into a relationship with someone they don't love. Because it's much easier to pretend you love someone than it is to actually love them. So if everyone goes to, if you're someone who follows everyone else around you, guess what? You'll end up in hell just like everybody else. If you think you have to follow other people, if you think that, it's a must to follow other people around you, do what they do. Guess what? Most people choose the easy path, just like you're doing right now. It's easy to follow others. It's hard to lead yourself. It's easy to to follow the choices of others. It's easier to be a follower than it is to be a leader. It's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. If you're someone who loves following others, hey, everyone around me is getting married, so I must get married. If that's your mindset, I need to do what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is doing drugs, I must do drugs. Everyone else is beating their wives, I must beat my wife. Everyone else is having kids, I must have kids. Everyone around me kills people, I must kill people too. If that's your mindset, you go to hell just like everybody else. Because it's easier to follow others than it is to follow yourself. It's easier to follow the world than it is to follow God. It's easier to go to hell than it is to go to heaven. So on my next podcast episode, since this podcast is getting too long, I'll talk about, the government in more detail. But you have to be careful in life. If you're someone who loves following what everyone else is doing, just know that most people choose the easy path. And the easy path always leads down to hell. It never goes to where you think it's going. No one in relationships are happy because every single one of them is choosing the easy path. All they're doing is choosing the easy path. The easy path is the path of pretending. Pretending you love someone. That's the easiest path you can do. Going to hell is easier than going to heaven. Getting to a relationship is easier than being single. It's much easier. Getting into a relationship is far easier than you think, especially for women. It's far easier than you think. But there's a cost for that. The easy path is not the most beneficial path for you, because the easiest path is the path that everyone goes to. And the path that everyone goes to shows, can be reflected in the world around you. Crimes, arguments, fights, violence, wars. This is the easy path. Everyone chooses the easy path. That's why the world is a miserable place right now. Because everyone keeps choosing the easy path. So if you keep following what everyone else is doing, you end up where everyone else is, living a life of misery. This is why most people are, depressed. Statistics always show that most people are depressed, regardless of person, place, or time. Most people are depressed because most people keep choosing the easy path towards hell. And this is what you have to be careful of. If you're someone who loves following others, just know that you're following them down to hell. You're not going to where you're not going where you think you're going. You're going to hell, just like they're going. So before I end the podcast, I pray that everyone lives a good life. Everyone enjoys the time with their friends and family members, and everyone can make better choices for themselves. Amen.